It's Katie Rose, straight up with a twist. What's up, humans? This is Katie Rose, straight up with a twist. How you guys doing? The world's kind of crazy right now. I actually sat down and watched the news this morning, which I never do. And I was like, why did I do this? But just like learning different things. Like I watched Pete Buttigieg this morning talk about the airlines and how global warming is affecting how planes are functioning in the air, and there's more turbulence than there ever has been. And that like blew my mind. So of course I had to like immediately start Googling it, and I'm just like, oh gosh. So now it's like, not only do we have to advance, in the future, thinking about, technology, but it's like, okay, how is the weather going to change? And then how we have to shift and all the Boeing drama. I'm like, I'll be over here. That's just like a one small thing that I was thinking about the world and the earth. And I recycle a lot. I did a whole episode on recycling, and I thought of my friend Amy, and I was like, we did this podcast retreat together. We have yet to do a podcast together with one another, and we both have our separate podcasts. So I finally was able to set up a time, and today I have with me Amy Fagan. And not only are we going to be talking a little bit about sustainability, but also, we keep tabs on each other. And, I think she is down to earth, and she's been going through her own struggles, and she's always, keeping up. She's one of my biggest fans, very supportive of, personal struggles that I've been through and that I have shared. And it kind of led her to want to share her own personal struggles today. So hi, Amy.
Hello. Oh my goodness. 2 years, 2+ years in the making, man.
Here we are.
Here we are.
There's a couple things I want to talk about today. The first one I want to talk about is sustainability, and just a couple of little nuggets of knowledge that you can give the regular folk. And then I know that you've been going through a divorce, and I imagine that process is still not over. Let's go ahead and get started. So I want you to quickly give a synopsis. First of all, share the title of your podcast, and then what it is that you are passionate about.
Okay, cool. My podcast is called Grounded in Maine, and it is about sustainability, but it's an open conversation about how we show up for the world. And it is supposed to encourage people to get creative about their sustainability practices, because everyone does not have 10-acre farms and solar panels covering their whole property to make up for any carbon footprint.
Right.
And there are so many ways. So I'm just talking to people every single week about what they're doing on their own, and just learning from them. And because of life, this year I'm branching out and doing a lot more like personal sustainability. I talked to a productivity coach. I talked to a person she makes like hemp clothing for people who are going through menopause and have like the night sweats and hot flashes.
Yes. Didn't she give you like a free article of clothing to try?
Got a free nightgown. I bought some pillowcases, but yeah, it's a game changer. I am bringing it with me next week where it's going to be hot.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Virginia.
Of course, I'm from Florida, so I think of Virginia as cold. I'm like, oh,
I got it.
it's not hot, hot, hot.
It's 84 today, and it's not in Maine. That is for sure. But
Well, what's really cool about that is I have always said, I've had people argue with me about like, well, I'm just one person. I can't change the world. And that was kind of like, it was something that bothered me. And I was talking about recycling to people like in person. They're like, oh, well, most of it ends up in the landfills anyways. I go, right. But if everybody does just this one simple thing every day and make it part of their practice, then yes, it can help. The only reason it doesn't help is because people aren't recycling correctly. First of all, people aren't rinsing things out. They're putting the wrong things in the bin. They're not checking the numbers to see if it's something that can actually be recycled. And yeah, that can be a problem. And of course, we need more people in the workforce, and we need better machines. They are falling short in that area. But what makes me inspired about your podcast is that you are finding these people, and each of them are one person. It is an individual who has made a choice to be sustainable, to and just that one little person. I don't think people realize how much you as just one person can leave such a huge carbon footprint. You know what I'm saying? Not everything, it's kind of sad, but like the dinosaurs left us some real good soil,
Right.
and we are reaping the benefits of that dinosaur soil. But the stuff that we're going to leave behind is a bunch of plastic shit. And I feel awful about that. So, like, we need to do something to prove that we aren't turds in the world
Right.
and that we can do better. I mean, even just as early as the 60s and 70s, people would bring their families out on picnics and just leave all their trash on the grass, and their brains could not understand. They're like, oh, someone else will come pick it up. I'm like, yeah, the volunteers of the world, the nice people that are come and get it. But like, what about the bird that just flew by and picked it up and built a nest with it? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And I literally just watched a bird do that the other day and almost cried. I was like, no,
Right.
drop the plastic cup.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, and there's like I've seen this meme going around and I'm trying to remember the exact wording, but it's like we don't need a few people doing 100% recycling, and we need every person doing something.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah. It's just us here.
Yeah. Just do the best that you can, man.
So what are your common practices? What are things that you do every single day? And then what are the things that, like, no, if nobody knew you from, Adam, they'd be like, wait, you do what? Like, I know you make jam, but besides that.
Right. Yeah, I mean I make jam. I compost. I have a worm compost, and a lot of people are weirded out by that, but if you come to my house, you wouldn't know it. It's been under my sink for 6 years.
How does that work?
Um, it is literally just worms and newspaper inside a bin, and you feed them scraps.
So it has to be biodegradable, obviously. So it needs to be usually just food. So it's just food. Okay. No paper.
And they'll break it down. I mean, newspaper is like their bedding and they'll eat that. And I don't know. It's weird. That's what I have. But I mean, you can do that in the city, which I think is really cool. You can do it anywhere. And because a lot of people are like, well, I don't have a yard, like I don't have a garden or whatever, I can't compost. But you can have a worm compost bin, and those worms they'll like shed their skins and they'll poop. And that is amazing fertilizer. That's better than compost. You can like soak it and make it into a tea and spray your garden with it. And you know, that's awesome. Or you can just sprinkle the little poops everywhere.
How long does it take it, like, for the worms to process what you put in there, though? Like, sometimes you just have too much food in there and it's just rotting. Like, how long does it take them to eat it?
I haven't done that. I have cottage cheese container, like a smaller cottage cheese container, and I'll fill that like every 2 weeks.
Oh, that's pretty small.
Well, but we also have a compost bin. And we have chickens. So
Oh, okay.
like our scraps are divided, but I mean I'll give them that much like every 2 weeks and it's fine. I haven't seen, the only things that don't get eaten are like seeds
Mm.
that they'll still work on or whatever. But they're like my chickens. They're very picky. They need something to be like mama birded, like sort of like mashed up and almost processed. It can't be like they don't like carrots because it's too hard.
Hmm.
They have to work too hard.
So when you go to scoop out the compost, you just have to try to not scoop up a worm. So you leave the worms behind.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of a process. Like you have a screen, so you like dump it into a screen and then the screen will catch the worms and the compost stuff will go through. I mean, I recycle, of course. We have a heat pump, which is
Hmm.
better than an air conditioner. I don't use lights unless I have to.
Do you have solar?
We do have solar. What else? I don't mow the lawn. Someone else mows the lawn, but when I have my own lawn, I won't mow my lawn.
There's something to be said about the ergonomic old school lawnmowers. Those still work fine. They're pushers and it takes a little bit more muscle, but like, you could
Yeah.
avoid electricity and gas by just going back to the old pusher. I was actually thinking about getting one the other day.
And you get that exercise too. But I'm planning to grow stuff. Like I want to have fruit trees and fruit growing and herbs and like I'm gonna bring some mint because mint grows like crazy. And if somebody feels like mowing, you'll mow the mint and it'll smell amazing.
Yeah, chives, green onion, those grow well. man, if you can grow a mango tree, I heard that the only way to actually grow a mango tree, though, you can't just like eat a mango and then plant the seed. I've tried it. But apparently now you have to actually splice them and it has to be two different because it's if you grow that tree, it won't produce any fruit. So you actually have to
Like
do,
or pollination or something like that.
yeah. So now you have to take the two stems and fuse them together. Why is the name
Grafting?
grafting?
Graft.
Thank you. You got it.
Yeah.
Grafting.
Yeah.
Because mangoes are great. We're actually growing a lemon tree, but the lemon tree is taking forever, but the leaves smell amazing.
Yeah. I have several little lemon trees in pots.
Ooh, it takes a long time. It'll take a few years for sure, probably five.
I actually took the lemon off of my tree just the other day, which is like very exciting. But I get like 4 a year.
Oh, we were hoping to make some limoncello with ours. Well, who was like one of your
Nice.
favorite
Nice.
guests and what was something that they do?
I've had a lot of really favorite guests. One of them is so Dita Lang is a thrifter. She goes to thrift stores, which right there I was like, that's so cool. She shops at a thrift store all the time, but she also creates style bundles from thrifted clothes. But she told me also that the smaller thrift stores, they will give people out of like shelters like a gift card and or like a shopping spree and like shop, and so they're taking care of people that are out of a difficult situation, which she herself was, and so it's like payback for her. And I was just like, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
This guy Noah Kleiner is a climber. He's a climber, but it's Kleiner. He has a climbing business in Maine, and he teaches people to climb, which that's cool and all. But his what I took from the conversation is that he is giving people this gift of awe. Like you get to the top, and he'll let you quit if you have to quit. But like if you get to the top, it's not like, yay, I did this. He's like, now look, like look at this that you would be missing if you had not done this. Like this amazing scene.
It sounds like a lot of the reason that you are attracted to the sustainability and the people involved in it is really about how they make you feel. I've noticed that a lot is, every person that you've crossed that is kind of like a mini inspiration for you. And that's kind of what like is what intrigues you about them in the first place. And it always sounds like every time that you talk to somebody, um, you are kind of the what you're mostly getting out of it is how they made you feel or how they made you look at life differently, which I think is kind of a cool thing that somebody's hobby or
Right.
something nice that they do with their life can actually in turn make you feel a certain way. So in a way, like doing these podcasts, and I know it can be kind of therapeutic.
Right. Oh, 100%. Yeah. And there's a million different ways that podcasting has influenced me, but it 100% is. Like part of it is for me is learning the story like behind what they're doing, like why they started what they're doing, why are you thrifting? That story just like blew up and it was not expected at all. Monte Carlo, I did not know she was a TV personality. I felt a little bit dumb, but it was all good. Her tagline is "Save the Food," and so she does these Instagram reels where she's talking about and showing tricks that she's learned to like food saving tips. So, to extend the life of something, or, your strawberries are starting to go bad, like cut those rotten parts off, but the whole rest of them are fine. Mash them up and mash your strawberries up and make a sauce. You can use those strawberry tips to make a strawberry vinegar. So you're getting two things out of something that was going to be thrown away. And so she just was, so for her, that came out of her going through a nasty divorce and being practically homeless with her kid. And so she had to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
just stuff like that is so inspiring. And I'm literally addicted to these conversations. Like I can't wait until the next person.
Yeah. Now that one sounds good. I actually don't know who she is, so don't feel bad because there's a lot of people in this world, so we can't keep up with everything, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of that, to the listeners, grounded in Maine. She lives in Maine. So it's not Maine event, it's Maine, the state. And did you grow up there? I forget.
I was born here, born and raised.
Born and raised there. And how did you and your husband meet? Is this your first husband?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We met through an internet site. It was actually Yahoo way back, like
Old school.
over years ago. Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah, because I was not I'm not going to say I wasn't a social person. I was working a lot. And I mean, I was just working two jobs and I had my pets and my jobs and I just was plugging along and then we met.
Like a regular online old school meetup, or was it kind of like AOL chat at first, right? Like very like you've got mail.
Yeah, it was very much like that. Totally. I mean, I worked an overnight shift at a hotel that I was working at, and he came over and we had breakfast.
And then how long have you been married?
12 and a half years. We've been together 18 and a half almost.
So just to, and you can share what you want to share. I'm here for your moral support, of course. I have friends who've been through this. It's weird because sometimes people around you can see it coming, but then you don't see it coming. And as you know, my last episode was about narcissism and the things that you allow in your life that you don't realize are hurtful. And there's also or mentally hurtful and kind of change who you are sometimes. And then you realizing I don't have the support that I thought I had. And then in a lot of marriages, you just become roommates. And it's like, I don't really know what is this anymore? Are we just living together for financial support at this point, and who's supporting the other person more? But some people stay in bad marriages. And the thing is, I have no, like, obviously I would love to believe that everybody could just find the love of their life and stay with that person for forever. But the sad truth is sometimes it doesn't work out. And I think it's perfectly acceptable to get divorced and to care about you and focus on you and make sure that you find what brings you happiness. And you know what? Sometimes in anything that I've learned, another person doesn't have to be what makes you happy. That you should never depend on a person to make you happy in your life. You have to find the things. Your life is still your life.
Right.
And typically that's usually why people fall in love with you, is because they do like that your independence and who you are as a person, but I just wanted to hear from your perspective, if there's anything that you've learned from this experience, what's happening now, and what led to this moment for you. How has everything been going?
He just let me know that he's been seeing other people. That's kind of come out in since then, but it's been over 2 years.
Gosh. But it's possible there could have been like people in the beginning that you didn't know about that he has not been open about. How did he hide this from you? How did you not, were there ever like, now are you like, oh, that one time? Is it like coming out or?
No. I mean, so he does a lot of bicycling with friends, and so he would just say he was out biking and he was not.
Uh-huh. So just pure lying. Now, what is your living situation? Do you guys share a bed?
Did
How,
we?
okay. Hey, look, some people they have like snoring issues, and I don't judge, but
Yeah,
some people don't share a bedroom. And I'm like, I
right.
mean, that's weird to me, but people have got like, you know, sleep apnea and different things.
Yeah, exactly. Some people have like, no, don't mess with my sleep. And that we probably should have done that for a long time, but we did not because we had this whole like, whoever falls asleep first wins because we both snored.
Aw,
One person got to sleep and the other person didn't get to sleep.
finding earplugs to wear at night, I guess. But they fall out sometimes. I've had to do that in the city sometimes. And I'm like, nope,
Right?
the sirens if you're not used to it. So how would you describe your relationship? Do you feel like it morphed over time, or do you feel like it's always been the same? I mean, 18 years is a long time. So do you feel like many marriages, it was like really fun and exciting in the beginning, and then all of a sudden there was just this
Yeah,
routine?
it was pretty much that. And I was totally fine with it. Like I grew up, my dad is on his fifth marriage. And so we moved around a lot. my dad had custody of us, and we did not have someone to really care for us. So,
What happened to your mom?
oh, my dad won custody.
That never happens.
Or so then you might think.
Wow.
His dad got custody of him.
Wow. And did you still keep in touch? Is your mom still around, or
No, my mom passed away 8 years ago.
did you see her like on weekends in the beginning?
Right. Yeah, it was like every other weekend.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. I know moms are a sensitive subject. I know for me, I'm fortunate my mom is still around, but I've had so many friends my age now that things are starting to happen, and I'm like, I don't know what I would do. I'm like, I love my mom so much. Were you close with your mom, or?
No, it was really complicated. My mom was a super smoker, and her husband was my mom loved him. He was very creepy.
Mm-mm.
She married him when I was like maybe 9. And I don't remember my childhood. I don't. And so I was probably like 9, but like as I was hitting puberty and growing breasts and whatever, like he was watching, and he had like Playboy magazines in the bathroom, and like you just like he's just one of those creeps. But my mom loved him. I didn't want to spend a lot of time there, which is really sad now. So,
Wow. So you have some trauma. If there's something that you like, you're blocking stuff out. If you're like, I don't remember a lot of my childhood, that means that you're, you know, blocking things out.
yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. And if your mom is not being the mom that she should be, then obviously, and you're living with your dad mostly, then you're going to have more of a male influence in your life. And it was you and did you say your brother?
My sister.
Do you and your sister talk about your childhood?
Not a lot.
I mean, you guys keep in touch?
Yeah.
I imagine it's either one of those situations where it's like, Huckleberry Finn and, it's like Tom Sawyer together, no matter what, running around, and you guys are really there for each other. Or oftentimes there's such an age difference that you guys grow up separately.
Yeah. We kind of grew up separately, but I mean she's 2.5 years younger than me. She remembers it all. She remembers everything. Like I mean, when I was 5 and she was 2.5, our dad took us in the middle of the night while my mom was working. And that's the last thing that I remember. I mean, I have a very vivid memory of that, but
You mean literally physically taking you?
yeah,
Like, you're living with me now, I have custody?
yes. And then he convinced all their friends to side with him, and I spoke at the divorce hearing.
Wow. And you don't remember how you said you were 9?
No, I was 5. Yeah, I don't. My grandmother told me that. I did not remember that. That's for sure.
5 is a hard year to remember. There's not much I remember at that age either. So,
But my sister's 2.5, and she remembers.
wait, what?
Yeah,
Well, I wonder if there's any footage of it, because oftentimes I don't know if anyone videotaped anything. You probably can't in a court, but like sometimes when your parents tell you stories, you start believing it as a memory.
right.
So if your parents tell you, yeah, you did this and you did that, you think you've been telling me that for so many years. I think that's a memory. And that's happened to me sometimes. And sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then I'm like, no, I don't. I remember watching the video of me when I was 2 years old. I'm
Mm,
like, I don't actually remember when I was 2 and doing the things. Um,
right.
However, your sense of smell is really interesting, because there's certain things about like the ocean, and certain smells about the ocean that give me a lot of comfort, because when I was little, my parents used to always take us to the beach. We also lived in Greece, and we didn't have much to do because it was just the Air Force Base. And my mom either took me to the playground across the street, or we went to the beach, or we went to the market. So like smells like that in the ocean, like the jellyfish, we used to like play with the dead jellyfish, which was weird. I don't know. I don't know why we did this, but like we would dry them out and like play with them. I don't know. Like we would literally collect them and then dry them out on the patio, and they're just like these little jellies, and then we'd throw them away. I don't know. It's so weird. Like they were dead. So I have no idea. Just like the backsides of a jellyfish. Who knows? The
Mm.
smells are the things that come back to me. I wonder, obviously the court of law would have had to have found your mom as an irresponsible person. So you said she was a big smoker. So does that mean she was also doing drugs and she wasn't responsible?
I think they probably both were.
Wow.
I think it was just a winning. Like he just wanted to win because he didn't want to take care of us. He just He just wanted to destroy her, and he did.
Wow. And that sounds like a narcissist to me.
A little bit.
Just playing the game. Even my ex was a little bit like that. He just wanted to be right, even though everybody around him was telling him he was wrong. His therapist, his ex-girlfriends, his own mother. I'm like,
Mm.
you are not right in this situation. But then he actually convinced himself that he was. It was like, it doesn't matter. Sometimes there's no amount of therapy that can help a person like that. And you're right. They are like hurricanes and they want to take everybody out in their pathway. Did your mom ever try to fight for you to get you back?
She did. We lived with her for a little bit, and I think it was like second grade, maybe, and it didn't go well. I mean, I don't know what happened. I just remember that we lived with her for a little bit, and then we didn't.
Mm-hmm. How did school work for you? You didn't go to college, right?
Right.
No. So how did getting through middle school and high school work? Like, did you always have to make sure your sister was awake and ready to go to school? I know I had to do that with my brothers. It was like, my dad would be drunk in the mornings, and then my mom was already at work at 4 a.m. So there was nobody there to like make me breakfast. And I had to make sure my brothers were up so that we could get to the bus on time.
Right. Well, I mean, it was weird. I mean, so my dad, when I was in middle school, my dad was on his third marriage, and he had three kids.
So you have half brothers and sisters.
Yeah. Well, ex steps. They were not they were not blood. So I mean they were always kids. And then that person, that ex stepmother didn't work. So she made sure that we were all out.
That you were what?
That we were all out, up and out and to school.
Oh, okay. Just to get out of her hair, basically.
Probably.
Did you ever do any extracurricular activities?
I was a singer.
Yay.
I sang in choir the whole time. And my sister and I had a falling out that I didn't remember. She told me about just a few years ago. But she was kicked out of the house for getting into trouble. I She was not in my life for a while, and I don't remember when that happened. I just remembered that she wasn't there.
Interesting. And when she reminded you of like the words that were exchanged, you still couldn't remember that happening?
I don't remember.
That is such an interesting self-defense mechanism that you have there. That's got to be very deep rooted because that's a few times now that you've said like you don't remember these things. But I'm actually watching reading this book, and it's like the worst title of a book. My mom gave it to me for Christmas, and I was like, "Really, Mom?" It's called "Will I Ever Get Pregnant?"
Gosh.
I'm like, "Thanks, Mom." I'm like, so I finally was like, you know what? What the fuck? I'll just go ahead and try reading this. It's actually better than I thought it was. Like it's more relatable.
Okay.
But the title's shit. Like she shouldn't have said that because it just makes you feel like crap as soon as you read the title.
Right.
And what's weird about books that are published? I am absolutely shocked at how many typos I find in books.
Ah,
I do not understand who is your publicist? Like, I don't understand. Like, who's proofreading this crap?
or the editor or anyone, like, has no one else read this?
I know, I don't get it. And I'm like, did you even read like, I would read my own book from front to back to make sure there was no typos before it was printed, mass produced. And the thing is, she is Chinese. So I know that there's like a language barrier, but that doesn't mean when you print it in English, it should be a misprint. Like, it still needs to be approved by somebody. So that freaking blows my mind. Like, I just can't even.
I'm working with a realtor in Southern Virginia right now. I'm going to go see him next week. And I'm like, if your people need someone to look over their listings, because they're so bad.
Yeah.
Like Dinning Room, and oh, I'm trying to remember what was the other one. It was like remodeled, but it looks like
Remolded.
yes. No, 100%. It was remolded. Like stuff like that. I'm like, fix that.
As a realtor, I always took a lot of time. It's just funny to me. I'm like, people are in such a rush, I guess, these days, but that's a big deal because it makes you look stupid.
Well, with all the technology, I mean, there's friggin' spell check and autocorrect and what, like,
Is he there? Sorry.
well, he's gone outside now. He's an asshole. He was on a date.
What?
An asshole.
Amy, you're joking. In front of you and he's still living with you?
Yes.
Okay.
I literally last night I begged him. I said, please just do not date while I could just be another month. I could just be here for another month.
Are you the one
He's like,
moving out?
I can't promise that. Yeah, I have to move out.
Okay. We need to discuss the fairness of this bullshit. Like, I need to hear, because here's the problem with the world that we live in is, you know, when you say your vows at the altar, obviously everybody is hoping that it's for forever. But one thing that they don't say at the altar is, and by the way, don't forget that you're bounded by law. And if you divorce, it's going to be a fucking nightmare and it's going to be this much money and they're entitled to half of your 401k. Are you sure you want to do this? This is the reason my mom has never gotten married. My mother's, in her brain or in my brain, it would be easier for the spouse to die than to get a divorce. That's how hard divorcing somebody is. And it's not even just about sitting there and, somebody understanding your life and being like, yeah, that makes sense. You should give her this and he gets that. It's 50-50. That's what it is. Unless you guys can come to an agreement, but most people can't. And you fight tooth and nail and it becomes way more than you thought. If you have, luckily, like a very, amicable breakup, then yeah, some people be like, yeah, she can have the house or she can have this or whatever. But what has your experience been with this? And like, I'm sure you were devastated when you felt like, did he just come out and tell you when all this went down? And then you were just like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, it was pretty much exactly that. I started to say before that, we moved around a lot because my dad's been married so many times. And so all I wanted was to be settled. Like I just wanted a home, I wanted a family. And so I was so content here. And I was loving my life. I was finally like, I have a jam business and this podcast, like all these things that are just like giving me life. And I did not know that that was all happening behind my back. Devastating. Yeah. And I mean, it was really scary because, I was scared straight. Like, okay, he was unhappy. Let's fix that. And that's like where, you're talking about narcissism in this week's episode. Like I was like, that's me because I'm questioning myself. And that's where that was wrong. Like, let me fix it because I'm also menopausal. I'm 50 years old. I'm in menopause. And so what another thing they don't tell you is, when you get to your 40s or so, you're going to hit menopause. You're not going to want to have sex. It's going to hurt and he's going to get pissed.
It's gonna be dry. You're not gonna be in the mood. The hormones change. Yeah, it's sad is like men's sperm are like super sperm. They can like look at Robert De Niro. Like you can still get women pregnant when you're an old man,
Right.
but then women's eggs just start disappearing and drying up.
They have to go younger and younger.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah. So
Medieval shit.
yes. Yeah. So he was not patient and I didn't know it was happening. I didn't know it was happening. I talked to the doctor and he was like, basically, I took care of the problem. You're welcome.
First of all, absolutely not. This is like what you sign up for in a marriage, like no matter what's going on. But to me, he was gaslighting you. He is somehow trying to make it your fault. Well, you're, going through menopause and I wasn't getting my needs met. Well, oh, cry me a fucking river. Like, I'm so sorry. And the thing is, I'm sure that experience was not easy either because doctors, it is a patriarchal world that we live in, and men are the ones running the show, trying to tell a woman about her body when the woman knows more about her body than most men do. I have issues with doctors. I think it's hilarious too because diseases are named after doctors, but we don't have enough cures that are named after doctors. We don't have the Nobel Peace Prize. There's all these things that are like wonderful awards that are named after, like Albert Einstein and all these people. But we have in the medical world, diseases and bad things are named after doctors. I'm like, are we ever going to figure this shit out? And if we have, are you hiding it just for money? Like I always think about that with the cancer treatments because, cancer treatments kill people. It lowers your immune system. It kills a lot of things. And I had to watch my aunt die from breast cancer, but when So you did. So you actually found something that worked for you.
No, he did.
Oh, he said I took care of it.
I got this. You don't worry about a thing.
Okay. First of all, I have an episode about porn and like how I dislike porn. I think we've taught little boys that this is normal, and then they get used to it, just like anything. Like, however you're raised, you're going to get used to that behavior. It's just not an excuse. You have to work on your marriage. You have to work on it and be communicative. That's why they talk about it. And it's not just communicating, it's not just talking at somebody, it's also understanding what they're telling you. And it's not like I hate that sex becomes like a main reason, seemingly, why a man wants to be married to somebody. Like, I would circle right back to that. Oh, is that why you married me? Oh, well, then you should have just gotten a fleshlight if you're really that fucking hopped up. Like, it's like men act like they just can't fucking control themselves. Like, it's so stupid. It's so, and I get that their body parts are on the outside, but we've got certain areas that are, you know, outward too, that they can't seem to find half the time. But it's absurd to me because a woman could do the same thing, but I do feel like we are more in touch with ourselves. Our brains develop sooner than males do. I kind of touched on that for a minute. It just the excuse for bad behavior is ridiculous. I've always said, like, if I'm about to like sleep with like if I was ever in that position, first of all, I hope that I would stop myself, especially if I'm in a happy marriage or if I seemingly am in a happy marriage. But I would be like, no, I have to talk to my spouse about this before I move on. If that's really, I, I think people don't understand how much their life can change. It's so hard to put yourself in that position until that person's gone. And then you're like, oh God, I didn't realize Amy was cleaning the kitchen every day. And I didn't know how much she did for me. And I didn't know all of these things that were going on until, oh shit, I'm here, I'm divorced. I'm not even sure if I can depend on the girl I'm dating. Am I going to be with her? Am I going to be with this other girl I was fucking? You know, and then you all of a sudden, I think what would happen is an old man like that you're with would realize I'm old. I should have just stayed with my partner and not cheated. I should have just like gotten over the thrill of the moment because that's really what it is. It's lust, it's not love. It's always just this sexual, and I'm not saying that's not fun. It's fun, sure it is. But if you want that, the first place to start is in your marriage. And if you can't work it out from there, then you both discuss, breaking up. It's I know it's easier said than done, but it's not okay for him to make you feel like it's your fault that he was led to cheating on you. That is immature, and he has no understanding of what it means then to be married. He doesn't get that. Like, these are conversations I had with my husband before we got married. I was like, look here. And granted, you guys got married a little bit younger.
No, I was what, 38?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, he should know better for sure. Were you more upset than you thought you were going to be, or less upset than you thought? Like, and what was your emotional journey with this?
I was so confused, and even still, like, I'm very confused and I'm very frustrated and I'm mad.
It's okay.
Like confused, like I just don't like I'm trying to just figure out like why like just, so much like, how could you like not trust me, to be honest? How could you how could you hurt me like that? Like I mean, literally when we were doing the online chatting before we actually met, I was like, here is my shit, basically. Like my dad is on his fifth marriage. I have a lot of baggage. I was like, do you still want to meet? And he was like, yeah. And so then, but like, no, nobody also tells you about menopause and what a crazy ass
Yeah.
place that is in your life.
Yeah, sure
And
is.
it's
Jeez.
mean that God has menopause and midlife crisis at the same time.
Yeah. The unbalance between men and women.
That is cruel. It hurts for me to have sex, and he wants to have it more. Like, what what is that about? It's not right. But like I'm just trying to, I'm like so many it's like all the emotions all the time. Like I literally cried for the first 6 months. And now we're on like month 7 living together because
Does he feel guilty? Like, or was this more of like a proclamation? Was he like, no, I've been sleeping around because you're not doing your part and I don't care anymore? Like, was there a switch? Did he just kind of flip and you were like, who is this person?
dude, I don't even know. Like, I mean, it wasn't really like either of those. Like he wanted to come clean and be honest, but then he was still lying and he was still seeing someone. Like he'd been seeing someone for like 8 months, the same person.
Ah, so he was quiet about it,
He was also married.
of course.
Um, but oh gosh, it's been
Do
it
you see any guilt? Do you see any type of guilt behind his eyes? Or is this more matter of fact the way he's talking about it?
I that's he feels bad that I'm hurt. He really wants me out. I mean, he by the time he told me he was done, like he's like, I don't want to be married anymore.
Dude, this sounds so much like a narcissist. I'm sorry. I'm just like these little things. I'm waiting for you to say them to confirm to me, but like when someone is that calm about these situations, it means that they've been planning it for a long time, that this has been something in the works in his head, and you finally finding out or him, coming clean about it means he feels stable enough in his life. So he's already moved on to the next person who's going to take care of him, quote
Well,
unquote.
and now he's just seeing a bunch of different girls.
Wait, say that first part.
He broke up with her when I begged him before, like back in February. I said, please just do not see anybody while we are still living in this house. Like you know how crazy I get. You know how crazy I get. Like I don't know if it's jealousy or if it's just such anger that he has no consideration for my feelings.
How does that make you crazy?
It makes me insane. Like to know that he is doing that.
Well, yeah, that would make anybody crazy, but that doesn't make you crazy. That's a perfectly normal reaction.
That not in his mind. Like he doesn't understand why I get so upset. Like why can't we just live our own lives?
What does he want to have a polyamorous life? Is that what he wanted?
Yes.
Did he say that? So he wants to have his cake and eat it too, basically, even though that was never your agreement. See, that's a shit that I don't get. And I wonder if that's influenced by modern society and people being so open about that type of lifestyle. And he's like, oh, that looks interesting. That's what I want.
100%. No, he said he heard it on a podcast that it's totally okay and people are doing that and he's like it happens all the time and people get divorced all the time. I'm like, I don't care about other people.
See, that's the negative part, about the progression of our world. Like I also I was starting to do a whole episode on polyamory, but it's so tough. And I actually listened to another podcast of a girl who was like, I did this for years. And she's like, let me tell you why you should never do it. Because somebody always loses, in the end. And we try to disregard our emotions and our hormones and our human nature, our feelings, and try to make it animalistic. Like we're just responding, and people convince themselves we're just responding the way nature tells us to respond. But then we also realize that we need control in our lives. We need stability. We need something that makes sense, that you can come home to, having a family, having a hierarchy. Like, it's when you try to deconstruct, if you've probably seen like cult TV shows, like documentaries about people that are like, oh, get away from society and we're just going to live out in the wilderness. And then all of a sudden you see them creating a hierarchy within their people. They're like, we need a leader. And I'm like, aha, now you see that this is what happens. It didn't just like, by happenstance that we have a president and we have, this way order of operations in which we do things. It's necessary sometimes. And with the, as open as I am, as with the LGBTQ community and, the friends that I have, like, I struggle with, I do believe that, the nature nurse versus nurture. I do believe that you need to be nurtured and in your home and whatever. And then, but I also believe that your kids need to be able to explore and you need to listen to them and how they feel. This is also going into like being trans and all these things. Like I could go on and on, but what's acceptable? When are you a parent? When do you step in? Abortion, all those things. It's, you wouldn't let your kid get a tattoo. when they're under 18 or if you don't sign off on it. So why allow them to do the other things? Like once again, I come back to that our brain is still developing up until 25, and it's still doing things, it's still growing and changing, and you're changing as a person. But I feel bad that he felt like he was missing something, which who wouldn't want to have sex every day, like whatever, sometimes it just doesn't fucking happen. And but to me, that's not the main event. So then I come to well, just saying with polyamory, like I feel bad that he listened to that and thought like, yeah, that's what I want. And to me, that's a midlife crisis. It's like, oh, you think that you're a person that can just like go fuck around like you're a little teenager?
You're not right. Exactly. You are not in your 20s.
Yeah, this is going to end and then you're going to be alone, you stupid idiot. And
Maybe, maybe an STD.
yeah, and maybe his dick will fall off and then he'll learn. Just
100%. No, I literally the other day, I'm like, I hope you get someone pregnant. I really do. So that you actually have to take it, be accountable for what you're doing.
yeah. And you guys don't have kids, right?
No,
You chose not to go down that
I was
road.
almost 40 when we got married. And
Yeah.
no,
Well, and plus, upbringing, all of those things and just the lifestyle. But I feel bad because you chose him. You said, you're going to be my buddy. This is going to be my partner. This is the person that I want to be. And so then, the next question is, I don't know why, but most marriages, they, especially the men, will always bring up sex first. But then it's really, what are you actually missing in the marriage? What was the actual thing? Were you guys not giving each other enough attention? Did you guys not have conversations? Would you sit on the couch together and watch TV, but not say a word to each other? Sometimes that starts happening over time, and you don't realize that you're on your phone for 100 hours a day and you're just watching TV and you guys aren't actually speaking to one another. So what else do you think was going on there?
well, I mean, menopause for one, but he apparently was unhappy like 8 years ago, the year that my mom passed away. He told his friend that he was unhappy. I'm like, I am really sorry that the year that my mom passed away and I thought I was dying of a heart attack, I was not more fun.
Yeah, it sounds like he can't handle when real life happens, and it sounds like he tries to create a world that is not real to create his own happiness.
Mm.
Which is also very narcissistic. It's that whole like creating a character, and just if he's not happy all of the time, then he doesn't know how to deal with real life situations.
Right. Yes.
Now, could you honestly admit that there were times that you weren't happy with him?
Mostly no. I mean, I hate porn. He loves it. So, you know, when he's watching porn, then he's like, "You want to go have sex?" I'm like, "No, I really don't."
Yeah, like that's not a turn on to me. Like, do that. I don't even want to know about it if it's happening. I'm like,
Yeah,
you are absolutely devastated, and that you felt like your relationship was fine.
I did. I did. I mean, I loved hanging out with him and
So do you feel like maybe he was putting on a show for you and that's why you're so blindsided?
or maybe I was just naive. And
No, 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 no. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. I mean, yes, but not in the negative way. Like I hate when people use that word, like I said before, like gullible. I'm the naive one, because that's putting the guilt and the blame on you. Yes, I mean, in the sense of the word, sure, you were naive, but you were told something
yes,
that is supposed to be what you chose as in a marriage.
right.
That's not being naive. That's somebody fucking lying and gaslighting you.
No, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I mean, he was not him. I mean, that's what's so confusing to me. Like I've been with this person for 18 years. How do I not know? How do I not know these things?
Do you feel like you don't even know him?
Yes.
God, it sounds so much like a narcissist. Was he a person that had like a lot of jobs? Like he didn't stick to one job?
He didn't like being employed, like working under an employer. He liked
Uh-huh.
himself.
So he bounced around a lot then? So was he like freelancing for different people? Like what was his line of work?
I mean, he's an arborist. He works he works with trees and
Uh-huh.
like landscaping, and he had worked in restaurants and stuff, and it never lasted.
So that's like another identity situation too. And also like, that there's other reasons. Like my dad has always had gone from job to job to job, but that was mostly because he was an alcoholic and then wouldn't wake up for work. So it's a little bit different, but it's kind of that jumping around, changing identity thing. It's like, yeah, of course you don't want to work under somebody, because you have to lie to them all the time. You don't, if you're working for yourself, there's no one to lie to. It sounds like that recreating the identity thing, having 30, 40 jobs in your lifetime isn't really an accomplishment, but a lot of people like to make it sound like it is. Having a retirement plan is great. But speaking of that, so I don't know what your current situation is financially, but are you going to be okay? Did you have a 401k? What is the process right now for you with this divorce? Like, was it like start the paperwork immediately? Did you guys decide, or is it just whatever the court is going to decide?
So I filed for divorce on my birthday in November when I turned.
Oh, Amy.
I mean, I turned it into my lawyer. I brought it in like that's happy 50. But we've had mediation, and he wants to work it out that we make the decisions on our own and just have the lawyers um agree to it because he doesn't want to spend the money, which I understand, but at the same time, like I don't know what's fair. When he says I want to be fair, I'm like, dude, fair, we're way past fair.
Right.
Fair would be knowing before all this shit happened. Fair would be like not having to lose my home and
Well, you know that's part of you do have leverage because adultery is like a thing of it in court of law. Like you win. Like that's a big no-no in the court of law if you committed adultery. And he would have to actually walk up, go to the on the microphone and go, "Hi, why are you here doing the thing?" And he'd have to go, "I committed adultery."
I think it depends on the state. Because I know a friend of mine in North Carolina was like, yeah, he could be fined like $1,000 or a couple $5,000 or something. I don't in Maine it's not like that, I don't think.
But the court leans your way mostly because of that one fact. So I would definitely speak to a professional.
Mm. Yeah. But so we did mediation, and we're pretty much in agreement except for spousal support. Because he's like, I can't, because he's gonna buy me out of the house. He wants to stay in the house. I don't want to stay in the house. I can't afford the house. And the house is full of lies. So I don't want it. He wants it because all of his equipment fits here. He built a structure for it. So he has to buy me out. So he's gonna do that, and I get half of his retirement, and I get half of what the house is worth.
Well, that's money to start a new life, moving out of Maine.
When I have to. Maine is way too expensive right now.
Where do you want to go? Florida?
No, definitely not Florida. Sorry. No,
Yeah, it's going downhill over here, but maybe Georgia.
yeah, no. No, Georgia's also very swampy hot. But looking at Southern Virginia, like rural Virginia, like I just want a little space. I want a little house with a little piece of land um that I can raise my chickens and do some gardening. That's all I want. I just want to be left alone.
That sounds nice.
It sounds very nice. Uh,
I love that.
so next weekend, this coming weekend, I'm actually going to Virginia to look at houses.
Yay! Oh my gosh. You are 50. Humans can live to be 120-ish. So think of this as like you have a whole nother half of your life to live. And if you are as sustainable as you are, you probably will live longer than most of us because you're healthy. That and the chickens. And I think that sounds nice. Think about women too, that like in a lot of ways, like sometimes divorce feels like a death, and in some ways, this is going to probably be like, wow, I can't believe 18 of my years just passed. And it's like a blip and it's a fresh start. And I know right now it's hard to be like, yeah, I'm gonna meet a new guy and da 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 da. But you know, sometimes life is like you could run into somebody. Like I met someone the other day who's like, I don't care about sleeping with somebody. I just want a friend to live with. What if you find a friend that wants to live with you and you guys live together? And like that is also okay. You know, we don't have to follow the social norms of like, and everybody always been like, oh, yeah, it's the same thing with my pregnancy thing. It's like people like, it's gonna happen. You're definitely gonna have kids. And I'm like, but you know what? It's okay if I don't definitely have children. My yeah, like my life is still valuable. Like, you know, we keep following these societal norms and I'm just like, you know what if Amy, you found this other girl that's around the same age as you and you guys like, let's live together. Let's be roommates till we die. I have a buddy. That's like just making your own retirement home. You know? I think that could be beautiful, you know.
That's beautiful for sure.
I think it's going to be hard. I think you're going to have some, you know, moments to reflect, but I think this is the best thing that could have happened. I've heard of way worse outcomes and it sounds like you're going to get to start over and it's like an adventure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just right now it's hard in the house with him being faced by, facing the rejection every single day. That's really hard. It's hard on the ego, it's hard on the everything. I leave, I'll be fine. I'm gonna make new friends. I'll be fine.
I think so too. And I'm so sorry that you've had to go through this. Having your entire world flipped upside down like that is crazy. And then his behavior is terrible. But I don't have to tell you that. And I think my tiny useless advice, you know, just don't, if he ever reaches out to you, no, you gotta be like, if it's divorce related and there's keep it through your lawyer or another person, keep it business, you know, time can tell. And maybe in a few years in the future, 5, 10 years, if he wants to be like, hey, how's it going? And you feel like I'm doing great, I'll respond to you. But like he did this, the punishment for him is he does not get you. He does not get to have access to you anymore. That is gone, you know? And, you know, I commend you for doing this and you will be stronger because of it. So
Yeah. Yeah. In the beginning when I was like, okay, so this is it. We're getting divorced because he doesn't want to be married. And he went to his dad's house and he was thinking his dad was going to support him. And his dad was like, so you guys are getting divorced now, and right? And he's like, well, no, no, I don't want to get divorced. And they're like, what do you think is going to happen?
oh my God, wait, he actually was trying to stay with you?
He wanted an open marriage.
Oh, I hate this person. I mean, you said that, but I didn't realize that he was really, wow. No, no, especially not after like the years of the lies.
No, no. Um,
Good for you for not being manipulated into that. That is not what you signed up for. That is not what you want. That is not something you guys ever discussed. So good for you for standing your ground.
it's not an option. Like there are no options at this point. But I mean, he's acting like he's being punished. Like he didn't do anything wrong and I'm taking all his money and he's gonna, he literally said the other day that he's gonna just, if he has to pay spousal support, he's just gonna lay in the road and look at his watch until he dies. I'm like, dude, I just laughed at him. I'm like, that is so dramatic.
That is so dramatic. Oh, woe is me. I have consequences for my actions. Oh my God.
weren't thinking
Ugh,
you weren't thinking about me when this was all going down.
that's terrible. That's terrible. So I kind of want to just I'm actually going to be going vegan for a month. Vegan for a month. I've been having some like gut issues and stuff. And like we went out to eat and they had foie gras on the menu. And I was like, no, I can't do this. I ate it once not knowing
No.
what the process was with like abusing and stuffing the duck in its throat. And I was like, oh, this is absolute torture. And I was like, this should be illegal. It should not be allowed on a menu. The same way I feel when I see veal on the menu, even though it's okay, it's
Yeah.
not even that great. I'm like, it's not worth it. Even an octopus, a freaking octopus has 9 brains. It has one in each of its legs and they work independently. And then it has one main brain and then it has 3 hearts. And we're everywhere in China, you know, they're just pulling these octopuses out of the ocean. I'm like, they're so smart. And luckily, I think they're plentiful, that I don't think they are endangered. But like, I think about the stuff more as you get older. And I'm like, octopus has no flavor unless you like burn the crap out of it and then massage it for hours and then add seasoning. So why don't we just leave them in the ocean?
Yep.
Even the issues with cows and corn, that they are just feeding them corn and their bodies can't process it properly. There was a video of a guy stabbing one of their stomachs to release air, like literally just puncturing a hole in its stomach to release air out of the cow because it was keeled over because it was in so much pain from the amount of gas that the body's producing from the corn.
That's just not. That's very labor intensive.
So, how do you are you a vegan or I forget?
I'm not.
No, you're not. You just eat more like organic.
I'm vegan curious,
Yes.
but I don't think I want to go full vegan. I mean, I make farmer friends, so I know that the animals are treated well.
Yeah, there's like companies where you can just order an entire cow and they put you on a waiting list. So if you have a big freezer, you can like split a cow with a friend, is like how they talk about it. And it can be like wholesale, cow. But yeah, I'm just doing it because I'm trying to figure out my gut issues. So the first step I did was I quit dairy. I didn't notice much of a difference, honestly, at all. And then now I'm going to start gluten free for a month. And then after gluten free for a month, I'm going to try vegan because I'm like, you know what? Maybe I do have gluten problems. I never wanted to believe in it, but I'm like, maybe I do. Why do I have such gut issues? So I'm trying to get ahead of it.
Hmm. I actually just started seeing a functional medicine specialist.
What is that?
Functional medicine it's a whole holistic practitioner. They look at the whole body, and she's fascinating. It is fascinating. Um, I didn't. I just learned about it with my friend who is going through breast cancer treatment, and she was going with a functional medicine person to make sure that her body was strong. And so I actually met this person at Podfest. She's a podcaster,
Heyo.
and like, oh, functional medicine. I'm really curious about that. She was like, here's my card. Let's chat. And so I did a hair test because it was less invasive. And she said that's like the start. So you just find out where your body's at. And so like this hair test gave me 2 pages of results. And like one is that I have a lot of uranium. Like my uranium is off the charts, and you're not supposed to have a lot of uranium. So I don't know. We're trying to figure that out, sort of. Like she said, basically, it's probably contaminated water.
Oh my
A lot
gosh.
of people in like California, Colorado, rocky land,
Like bedrock. Yeah.
that there's a lot of uranium in their systems, and they have to be really careful about that. So,
So she cut your hair or like pulled your hair?
well, she's in California, so I cut my hair and I mailed it to her. And there are others, like there's a gut test, so for sure, but it's like, it's not covered by insurance because it will eventually actually cure issues.
Oh my God.
Nothing
Nothing is covered by freaking insurance. I'm so
that
used
works.
to it. I'm so used to it. Nutritionists, really difficult to find those that are covered. And nothing that works. You're right. And then of course infertility. So now this, lovely.
They're all under the insurance companies. They're in their pockets. Like they're giving them money, and then they have to support that, which is super, super unfortunate. And so they just want us to keep taking pills, just keeping it under wraps. But so, I've learned a lot from her. One was that, doctors can't really do a lot of preventive stuff. Like, you can do a mammogram or whatever, but like as far as treating an issue before it's a big issue, like if you're getting your blood tests and you have your thyroid test and whatever, and it's within a range, they can't do anything until it's out of that range.
Yeah. All they can do is eliminate what you don't have. They don't care to figure out. They're not there to figure out what's wrong with
Right,
you. They're just to take a test and go, you don't have this. I'm
right,
like, oh, big deal. What's
right.
wrong with me though? Why can't I breathe?
Exactly.
Why are my legs numb all the time? I've been to a neuropathy, a neurologist, like all these people, that and nobody can tell me what's wrong with me. And I'm like, well, it's not normal that my legs go numb and they hurt really bad for
Right.
hours.
Don't tell me I'm normal. I know there's something wrong. Right. Yeah, I know. I mean, the first thing that I told her, like, I have such crappy teeth. My teeth are so bad. People are always like, "Oh, they look so nice." I'm like, whatever. Like, I can't breathe in the cold air without having tooth pain.
Ooh, I have tooth pain
I
too.
can't eat sugar and whatever, whatever. And she was like, "Well, but so if your body is stressed for a long time, like I haven't slept well for 35 years. She's like, that is a stress on your body. Your body will actually pull the minerals from your bones and your teeth and like sock them away into soft tissue. I'm like, I don't know why I would do that, but that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so the uranium and the teeth. And another thing she said is because I've said I'm finally sleeping. I sleep like 5.5 to 6 hours a night, which is unheard of for me. But I like hit that afternoon slump hard. But so she was saying that the liver gets clogged really easily because it is like train station. Like everything goes in and out of there, and it's the filter for everything. And if it gets clogged, then you're like not getting your hormones right, and then minerals are not getting to where they need to. They're not absorbing right,
Yeah,
and
the
like
same
all
thing
this
with like
stuff. I'm like, what the
uh
hell? Like,
chia
how
seeds or chai seeds or however they say it, is they have no use unless you ground them up and open them up so that they can absorb into your system. Otherwise, they'll just pass right through. So it's just funny.
just eat the
Yeah.
seeds
So
and
it's like
they just
that's why they say get one of those
stay
coffee
seeds.
grinders and then grind up those, and then you could mash them up and put them in drinks, like whatever you need, your smoothies, like whatever. But yeah, that's very true that a lot of the nutrients from food we're not even getting; they pass right through our system. So we have to make sure, sadly, as consumers, that we're doing the right thing to make sure that we're getting the
Yeah.
nutrients that we need so that we don't have to depend on taking vitamins and pills all the time, which like who likes taking 12 vitamins a day? Like I literally look like a pharmacy in here. I have so many vitamins and I'm like, I mean, how about I go for a walk and get some vitamin D? That way I won't have to take a D3 pill today. I can hold on to these D3 pills and not take those right away.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so from that, so Claudine is her name, and she's hysterical. She's really funny. She's from California. She's like, but she gets really excited about these tests. She's like, oh my gosh, like it's so exciting. So she sent me this like a video going through all the results and then a video going through all the treatments. And so I have these like $550 worth of supplements right now that I'm taking, which is insane. Um, but
Wow.
I've only been on it for a week. I think today is day 9, day 10. I don't
Well,
know.
these supplements last a few months, right?
It's like 3 months worth.
I was like, that's a big investment. But, as I've been getting older, I'm like, you know what? You should invest in yourself. We're always buying
Right.
stuff for the house, stuff for this, you're,
Yep.
adding stuff to your car, your house, whatever. I'm like, why don't we invest in our own bodies? Like that should be a priority.
Right. Yep. But so I'm taking all it. So it's like 2 powders, 3 powders, 2 pills that I take 3 times a day. And then she had me do like, so I'm really low on potassium. She said your body is not letting you have potassium. And then so like I take a high blood pressure medication, which she said um it does not let your body have potassium. So she's like, you just have to figure out how to eat it. And so she's like, here's this potassium broth that you make out of like potato peels and carrots and parsnips and water
Or a banana.
and a banana. I mean, I have a banana every single day, that's for sure. Yeah, but it's just like my blood pressure medication is not letting me have potassium. Anxiety medication, I forget what that one's doing, but then I have a pain medication because I'm old and I have arthritis in my back. So I take a medication every night. She said that is doing something too, but I'm like, I can't even keep track. But she's like, it's for her, it's like this puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
The doctors are like, you're having this issue. Why don't you see the specialist? You're having this issue. Go see the specialist. And she is like, give me all of the information.
Mm-hmm.
This is so fantastic. I have
I
all this
love that.
information.
That's
I'm
what
going to make
I'm
sense
looking
of that.
for. I had with Orlando Health, I had a virtual visit with a nutritionist and I was so disappointed because it's like first of all I had to repeat myself like many times and then she'd ask me a question. I'm like I already answered that. That kind of a situation, and she was also brand new to the industry. And then she just like sent me a bunch of like forms on like how to make a proper plate of food. I'm like, I already know all this stuff. This is like basic. I'm like, I need you to get down to the nitty gritty, and the thing is, like, I've had lots of blood work. I've been poked and prodded over some time recently, and I actually know a lot about my levels. And of course, everything comes back normal. I did have one where my potassium was a little bit low, but it wasn't like crazy. Like I'm always in the range where it's like fine and there's nothing to worry about
Mhm.
yet. But like three
Right,
things that they've noticed was a little bit
right,
low in potassium, a little bit low in B12 and iron. And the iron thing fluctuates. So
right.
yeah. So usually
Sure.
I'll just pop
Depending on
some
your
iron if
cycle.
I'm on my period or something like that. But I also get affected by vitamins. Like I can get really dizzy. I've had dizzy spells since I was a kid that nobody can figure out. And I have breathing issues too that nobody can figure out. I've been to a pulmonologist, I've been to a heart doctor, a cardiologist, and they all looked at me like, why are you here? And I was like, I am here. They're like, you're so young. I go, I know, but I can't figure out why. Maybe my heart's not pumping properly and maybe I'm not getting enough oxygen. My legs go numb. I think it, yep. So
I
everything
don't know.
comes out
Your tests come
normal.
out
And I'm
normal,
just like,
Katie.
and then I'm just going all over the place. And so right now, my next journey is so if I did a chiropractor for 2 months and like that sort of helped, but like it didn't really do anything. I think it might be all correlated in with the same issues I'm having with infertility in my hips and my uterus and my and endometriosis. I think it's all connected with like the lack of circulation that I'm getting to my legs. What if that's what's affecting my infertility? So I am going to get an MRI on my uterus and my hips, just to check and see if there's any nerves that are being pinched. And the thing is, I already did this. I did an MRI with and without contrast. And like the only thing they saw was a fibroid that was like 4 millimeters, but it's never shown up on any sonogram since. So it must have shrunk and gone away. I'm being healthier again. I'm trying to focus on, like I always figure everything has to do with diet and exercise. At the end of the day, it's like the balance, like figuring out what the balance is.
Yep.
Um, but but it is hard to be thrown around and going to different people all the time and still not getting any answers.
Totally. Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I think that, the whole testing when it comes out normal, the span is too large, I think. I was telling Claudine because I have a huge thyroid goiter, and I was telling her that. And when I was in a car accident 4.5 years ago, and I had to have testing for, they were afraid that I might have blood clots in my lungs, and I didn't. But while they were doing all these tests, they were like, did you know that you have a really big thyroid goiter? I'm like, yes, I did know that. And then in that same visit, they were like, they mentioned something just so matter of factly, like, you have an enlarged liver, but then no one else said anything, like, ever. And then I met Claudine, and I'm
My
like,
jaw's dropped right now. What?
what? Maybe that is what my liver is enlarged. Like, maybe it's clogged, and it's like, I'm like, why is no one ever said anything this whole time? I'm like, the doctor never mentioned it, so they must be okay with it. But so I was telling her I have this really big thyroid goiter, but my blood work always comes out fine, and so they said, if you have trouble swallowing, then let us know. Uh, and she was like, what? She, she's like, if you have a goiter, then something's not right. Like, let's do a real test.
Well, when I went to the neuropathy doctor, neurologist, I don't know, whatever, he did like the test where he like puts like the tools on my feet to see if I could feel stuff, whatever. And then I told him, I go, well, my last doctor, I was like, I don't go to her anymore. I go, she gave me Parkinson's disease medication for like restless leg syndrome. And he goes, you didn't take that, did you? And I go, no, I was actually too afraid to take it. So I never started taking it because it only happens when it happens. It only happens if I'm on an airplane or in a car or sitting in a certain way. And then all of a sudden I get this excruciating pain in my legs. And it's like I have to take a bat to it and like beat it because it hurts so badly. And I'm like in tears. And then I've had this like acid gastro buildup if I eat too quickly or if I have like red meat and then all of a sudden I'm keeled over and it's like the worst like pain in my stomach ever. Um,
Uh, Sounds like gallbladder to me.
Gallbladder.
That was how I felt before I had mine out. I would like lay on the floor flat and just like try to breathe.
Well, maybe I'll have someone look at my gallbladder because I don't know, man. I know we don't need it. So-
Well, I mean, it depends on who you talk to, because Claudine was mad when she found out that I didn't have mine. She's like, "Oh my gosh, like God put those things in there for a reason." But the gallbladder processes fat, I guess. And so
Mhm.
if the gallbladder is inflamed or whatever, it's not processing the fat or whatever. So,
Or whatever. I'm looking into that one because I'm chunky to monkey right now. So I'm trying to figure out what that
right?
might
Oh my
be.
gosh. Well, and that, yeah, that was another thing that I was telling her, like all, all these issues and like the sleep and the stress and the thyroid and all the things. I'm like, I am gaining weight. Like I know it's menopausal or whatever, I don't know, but like all these things. And she said, your liver is not letting you have the hormones that you need, and you like need these hormones to
So what are you gonna do about your enlarged liver? Like what the hell?
I'm working on, I mean, with all the supplements, they're supposed to like help to make me feel better and whatever. I'm also doing a castor oil pack, which is
You put it on your stomach with a heating
yeah,
pad.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I do that for endometriosis and infertility.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Something we're both doing.
Because right now I can't afford the gastro test.
Yeah. Medical is so expensive. We have the highest that we pay for, we have the highest premium with our insurance and it still doesn't cover everything. I'm just like, whatever. This is ridiculous. And especially like name brand stuff.
Help, you're paying for insurance and you're not getting covered. It's like the medical, it's such a racket and it's so, so, so bad.
I
It's
know.
so bad.
I know. The only thing I ever think is, well, I hope my money is helping someone else who really needed it. That's all I can ever think of is that they had a bigger surgery and they needed
Right,
that money and me paying insurance helped them in a bad situation because it's very frustrating. I couldn't even get albuterol the other day. I'm gonna be I have like an inhaler now. I haven't really been doing it, but like I'm gonna try starting to do it like before a workout and see if it helps me or something.
right.
But it is frustrating that I couldn't get like a specific brand, and then they have codes for all of the drugs, and they're like, "Oh, well, we typed in the wrong code." I'm like, "You didn't even think to look at it. I drove up there, and you said my insurance doesn't cover this." I go, "I know it does. I called my insurance. You typed in the wrong stupid number, so type in the number that gives me the thing that it's covered."
That
And
I'm
so then
so here for.
yeah, so then I had to go home and then call back the Walgreens, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, we have another code." I'm like, "Thanks for making me wait." First of all, the line was like an hour. I'm like, I had to wait for you to
Feel
tell me
stupid.
what.
It make me feel stupid.
Yeah, I'm like, I know this is covered. I already checked with my insurance. Like, suck it. But there's just different brands, and so they have to make sure they're putting in the right code. But like, why is it my job? Why is it my job to figure out that from my doctor to the pharmacist, which one it is? I don't give a F which one it is. Give me one that my insurance covers. That's what I care about. It shouldn't be my job to jump through 5,000 hoops and conversations to figure out that you didn't type in the right code to give me the thing that my insurance covered. Like, it just blows my mind. Like, nobody can ever do their jobs right either. um,
Oh my,
but
yes.
I've also been dealing with hair thinning in like a very specific spot. And I think it's from wearing my hair in where how I'm doing it now. I should take this down. I've been trying to be better about that. Like the ponytail spot. My
Mhm.
whole life as a dancer and having my hair in a bun and shoving bobby pins into my scalp every day. And so I've been noticing that in that center area, I'm going to be like George Costanza soon. So I've been doing natural oils because what happened was I went to a dermatologist, and I hate to say it, but she gave me her regular spiel that I already know that you memorized this. Yeah, your hair is like a plant and you have to water it and nurture it. I'm like, yeah, 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 lady, I get it. But it was either the $800 per session of them poking your own blood into your head with the needles. And I was like, I'm not doing that because you're probably just going to make it worse. And I know that you could create scar tissue, but that's what they're trying to do, right? So the whole idea with Rogaine is that it makes your hair fall out so that new hair growth comes in, blah, 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 blah. But I tried minoxidil and my hair just fell out. Nothing was growing back in and it was coming out in clumps. And I had to like reach out to a friend whose husband did it. And I was like, did this much hair fall out? And she's like, no. She's like, that's like a lot. And I
Oh, I
was like,
remember that episode.
yeah, I was like, why is my hair falling out? And then they said there's like finasteride, which is like a steroid. And I tried doing that, and my scalp was I think I'm just very sensitive. And my stomach is sensitive. I think I just have like sensitive skin. I think that my intestines are thinner. Like when I eat a jalapeno, I poop out a jalapeno. You know what I'm saying? And so she gave me this stuff on my scalp, and the steroid was making me like scab, which is like sort of what they want it to do because they want it to be damaged so that it repairs itself so that it starts working again. I get it, but it was hurting. It was
Yeah.
painful. So now I've switched to cottonseed oil, sunflower flower oil, rosemary, and now I'm trying these natural oils, even onion juice, because onion juice, not fermentation, what's the word I'm looking for, is the gases that come from it, but it's like a fertilizer. So it acts as like a fertilizer. So I've actually been putting onion juice in my hair, peppermint oil, anything that helps to stimulate. So I'm going to be doing that for like a while because the thing with hair is like it's one you have to do it every day. It's a commitment, you know. So I'm trying to do all natural first
Hmm.
because the steroids scared me. The minoxidil scared me and I was
Gosh,
like,
yeah.
you know,
Well, and pain hurts. Pain is pain hurts.
yeah. So I was like,
When you're putting something chemical on your head and it hurts. I am my hair is not thinning. But in the menopause thing, hair loss is normal.
down there.
Sure. I'm thinking, is that where you're putting all these things? You're putting
Oh no, on my head. You just brought up menopause, so I
Yeah.
thought, yeah,
No.
it's probably hair's
Oh
falling
my
out
God.
everywhere.
Menopause, dude. Um,
You go back to being a baby.
Menopause is ridiculous. There are like over 100 symptoms that we could be experiencing, and it can take up to 10 years. I know you said that recently, but hair loss is and hair thinning is pretty common, I guess. So I've found that I am sensitive, allergic, I don't know, like all of a sudden I can't use fragrances. Like my regular shampoo bars make my head break out.
So I get rashes. There's something in most body washes that give me a red rash all over my body
My
after a shower.
my mother-in-law, my mother-in-law is allergic to something that's in a lot of soaps. Uh,
I'm wondering if it's actually plant-based because I did once get like the test on my back with all the needles. I know I'm allergic to 4 different kinds of mold and then like certain plants like oak trees or something. So I don't know if there is something plant-based that's actually making me react, but I really need to do like a test and just like buy a few things and then narrow down the ingredients because I really think that's the only way I'm going to get my answers.
right. The elimination, yeah. It's like the best way to find out, but it's also really hard and it could take a long, long time. But my mother-in-law is allergic to CAPB. Yeah, I know. It's very weird, but she gets rashes like crazy, like blisters. It's awesome getting older.
Oh yeah, so I'll be on a journey to figuring out what it is that's doing that. And then also my cat litters. It's like sodium bentonate, I think that's in everything. The dust, the particles, if you breathe them in. So I've been trying to wear a mask when I'm scooping the cat litter. That's why they say don't scoop cat litter when you're pregnant. And then I looked up, I'm like, okay, let's break this down because in order to make it clump, which is why everybody likes cat litter, you need those two ingredients, the sodium bentonate and the I forgot what the other ingredient is right now. But then there's the silica in there. And silica is just to keep things like fresh usually, like those little packets. But I found that the regular silica that's in the clay that makes it clump is bad, but the silica gel will not expose to the air. So it's actually, I believe, the gel is the safest thing so far that they found for the cat litter. And that's like the crystals that you see,
Okay.
like the pretty litter. So I'm looking into that right now and I'm going to try that and see, but it's just sad to me that like we have so many chemicals around us all the time and they're FDA approved because there's only
Yeah.
a certain amount of
Yes.
carcinogens. And I get it, like you might not be getting as much in your body and it won't be that dangerous. But like when you read it, it's like these could cause cancer. You're like, okay, well, if I have 3 cats and I'm scooping litter twice,
A
three,
day.
4 times a week, you know, then at that amount, I probably could be inhaling that stuff and it could be bad for me. Like it sucks that we have to look out for ourselves so much.
Well, it sucks that we have to look out for ourselves so much because we have been conditioned, forced, we've been fed all of these things of convenience, like cat litter. I use a cat litter that's crushed walnut shells. It's called I don't know. I'll have to tell you what it is. Natural
I've
something.
tried that a long time ago. Like, what is it, the corn ones, or it's like,
Right, there's corn and there's wheat.
yeah. I mean, the problem is the odor control. Like, they try to cover it, but it doesn't stick to the stuff, and then the flies want to come to it. And I'm just like, ah. So there's like good and bad. So I'm gonna try to be somewhere in the middle and go to this crystal stuff first. I really liked Boxy because they claimed that they were just clay. I got really upset actually because I was like, I found the perfect litter and I love Boxy and they're like, we have one ingredient, it's clay. And then I wrote them and they were like, yes. I said, I have a product question. Do you have these chemicals in your stuff? And it was like, yes, we do have.
Sodium.
Yeah, basically that's what makes it
Yes,
clump
our
up.
clay is not just clay.
Yeah, so they wrote back and said that they did have it, and I thought, oh well, there you go. So yeah, so I'm gonna try this the crystal stuff, which is a little bit more expensive, but I see why. So getting older, the reason these things start happening is one, our body is finally catching up to whatever shit we put in it when we were younger. And two, I think our body struggles to absorb the nutrients that are good for us. And the only thing we can do is like what you're doing. Like you are paying to make sure that someone's going to do that homework for you, which I think is worth the money. And they're going to say, take this and make yourself healthier. So you're going to need to send me her information. um,
Yeah, I will do that.
yeah. And with my infertility stuff, I'm like, I'm about to try anything. I just found out that my insurance covers acupuncture. And while that's a pseudoscience, I'm like, what the hell? I'll go in and tell her I have low back issue and infertility, and I get 20 sessions covered. So let's do it.
Seeing one. I started seeing one after this divorce thing started.
Where does she focus?
She's focusing a lot on letting things leave my body.
I mean, like where? Like where is she? Is she all over you? Or like for me, it'll be like low back for sure.
Typically have, well, I mean, I have low back pain too, but I mean, for me, because it's emotional stuff, she's like, we're gonna let everything like just like let things flush out. But so I have a couple in each leg, a couple in each arm. The last time I was there, she put one right in my chest.
Oh my gosh, that scares me.
And she put him in my stomach. I was totally freaked out by needles. The first time I went, I was like, if I can't see it, I should be okay. So she did it on my back.
It's scary.
I mean, even though they're like hairs, they're so skinny, but it's just the idea of needles. But I'm okay with it now.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, like I hate it, but so am I. And I did have a bad experience. It was my first time doing, well, second time doing acupuncture, but the first time I did acupuncture, it was just like the regular needles, Chinese medicine, put them in my back. She put a heating lamp on me and I was done. And then my second experience was at the chiropractor and he had them connected to electricity or whatever, like little rods. And I told him I was open minded to it. I'm like, fine. I'm like, I still think it's a pseudoscience. I was like, I've done this before and I didn't, see. And he's like, well, you have to do it repetitively. I'm like, okay, whatever. So he hooked me up and he kept turning on the machine. And he's like, do you feel anything? I was like, nope, I don't feel anything. I don't feel nothing. I feel nothing. Boom. All of a sudden, I was like freaking electrocuted in my leg. And I was like, I like sat up and then it was just buzzing. It was so powerful. And then he turned it off in a panic, and was just like,
Ooh,
"Oh my God, oh my God." And I was like, "What happened?" Like I'm imagining that he turned it on and didn't realize that it
like crank
yeah, I thought that
because
I
you're not
think
feeling
I don't know
anything,
why it wasn't triggering or whatever, but either way, I was like, I'm sure you can assume I'd never want to do this again. He did the one like went inside the
open to it. I didn't like it. Let's not do it again.
no, I mean that was terrifying. He electrocuted my leg and I sat up like freaking Frankenstein.
Right?
And then like and I was really nice about it. Like I was just like, it's okay, like whatever. And then he did one that was inside my cuticle.
Ooh.
And that hurt so bad. And I was like, no. Like, no, why would I ever no? So so I am actually it's Sunday, so I can't, but I have two voicemails I got to get back to on Monday, but they specialize in infertility. So I was like, I'll just go. Like, why not? You never know.
I so for my hair, I'm using apple cider vinegar.
Yep, that's my shampoo. My shampoo is apple cider vinegar.
Oh, okay. Good deal.
I
Because I was
drink
told,
apple cider vinegar. I've been taking a shot of that in the morning to help with my gut issues.
yeah.
Do you feel like, are you using fresh apple cider vinegar for your hair?
I actually make my own.
Okay.
I mean, with the jam business, I have an apple jam. So all the scraps of the apples, I let it ferment and make the cider.
Heck yeah.
But so I put that on because the lady told me that she was a soap maker slash herbalist, and she said that your head and your hair really want acid to, I guess, stimulate and to, and a lot of people do it because of buildup, and I don't have buildup because I don't put anything in my hair. But there's also like well water. I have well water, that builds up like.
I imagine the apple cider is probably similar to the onion juice, except for yours is going to smell a lot better than onion juice.
Depends on if you
So,
like Italian sandwiches.
so I just do the onion juice like 30 minutes before I take a shower so that I can be like, okay, I let it sit on there to do its job and then put the good smelling stuff in there. But yeah, it's a process. And then of course I massage. That's what they say is the best thing is doing a scalp massage and just trying to open it up and get those little follicles in there that don't want to work anymore working again, And
Mhm.
I'm sure like maybe that thing works like with the needles that they like deposit like little pieces of your own biology basically back into your scalp, but like there's also the risk that it could be leave scarring or I might react to it in a certain way that's not good. And so I'm so scared that I'll have some botched job, that you see on those TV shows.
Right. How do you know who you can trust to do something so invasive?
But yeah, I think nutrition is important. As I've gotten older, I've been starting to take like more control. I'm like, if I need a massage, I need a massage. This is not something like if I can go out and spend, you know, $80 on a few cocktails, I can go spend $80 on a massage that I know is going to help my body. So you have to like look at everything, you know, that way. Like some people are like, no, I'm spending money on a pair of shoes. Okay, well, I'm going to spend money on this because this is going to help my body. Um, Quality of services matters too. And I think, rather than somebody just being like the basics that who just got out of college and saying, this is how you make a healthy plate. I'm like, I get it. My meat needs to be less than my veggies. I get it. Okay. This is what I'm talking about is the hair test, the blood work, like getting down to like the root of these things. Yeah, it sounds like she knows what she's talking about. So I'm interested to hear and more about that journey. And I want to follow it with you because if you have a significant change, and if you're not doing it already, I just started today keeping a journal. Today I feel like this. Today I feel bloated. Today this is what I ate. Like that's going to help you like narrow it down and be like, oh, on this day I had diarrhea. you know, because I ate this or whatever. And that's what I'm starting to do now because, I am forgetful. I keep thinking like I can remember, but then people are like, what did you eat last night? I'm like, I don't remember. Like I need to write it down.
Yeah. I mean, well, so what I've heard from Claudine and from a lot of other people is that when they're in school, that's why the primary care doctors, they send everything out. Like you want to see a specialist, they don't have any training. Like literally, I have a friend who's a podcaster, and she had this medical doctor on who said our nutrition training was like an hour, and it was more like facility, like tube feeding, not like vegetables and stuff. So, and like, menopause, they have no training. Even gynecologists go straight to the hormone specialist.
So it's like, just skip the middleman then. Exactly. It's like, what's the point?
Right. They're trained by the insurance people, I'm sure, because the insurance people are getting everything that they want.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, we're gonna cut back on our insurance next year, and then I'll be focusing more on a nutritionist, and maybe going to your chick because she sounds like she knows what she's talking about. But you know what? I've spent so much money on infertility treatment, and guess what? It didn't work. So I'd be willing to spend $500 for a girl that might be able to help something else internally that could help me with my fertility.
Right.
So it's worth it for me. But, anyways, that has been lovely and very insightful. So I would love that information. But thank you so much for coming on here. I'm actually very excited to hear, through the devastation that you've got something to look forward to. So
I'm really looking forward to next weekend. Looking at houses. I'm going to go to the farmers market in Virginia. Like I've never even been to Virginia.
Well, thank you so much for being with me, Amy. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing a late night Delilah show on the radio, just having real conversations about real life, ways to improve yourself, the ladies who lunch. But just a few things about sustainability. I think it's great. It's those baby steps. And, she brings on a lot of people onto her show that talk about sustainability. And, we're all going to be eating bugs, and people in Asian countries already serve them at restaurants. Protein, like people talk about it in the future that might be what we're going to. They're ubiquitous, right? They're everywhere. And, just simple things that we can do to upcycle and things like that, like use a refill cup instead of their plastic cups that they give you at Starbucks. If everyone did this, Starbucks would rarely have to buy them and refill them in their stores. Be a papertarian, like use paper instead of plastic for everything because you can recycle it. Paper in boxes can be recycled and made into new products up to 7 times. And did you know that 1.2% of water can be used as drinking water? Yeah, the rest is locked up in glaciers and ice caps and permafrost or buried deep in the ground. And that's why it's important to conserve water wherever we can. Another thing is to consider installing like a rain barrel in your home, granted mosquitoes, so you have to be careful. If you do have a yard, this way you can catch rainwater and then you reuse it around the garden. And recycling, just regular recycling, can actually save water because water is used in the creation of new products. So recycling 1 ton of paper can actually save 7,000 gallons of water. Another thing you can do is bring have vegetable scraps and water, bring that to a boil, and then simmer that for like an hour before straining it. And then you save the liquid. And you can compost the scraps. So there's your vegetable broth. Brown sugar, if you don't have it, you can just combine white sugar with molasses if you have molasses. Cotton can break down naturally over time, which reduces the amount of non-biodegradable waste in landfills. So literally buy your cotton underwear, wear out that cotton underwear, and that can even be compostable. But organic cotton is grown without synthetic fertilizers or pesticides, which reduces exposure to harmful chemicals and the environment. So, it also requires less water and energy to produce it. And yeah, the sad thing is most of the clothes we purchase today are polyester, and that's why they're cheap, but it's bad for the environment. Polyester, it's a type of plastic that takes a long time to decompose, and it releases significant carbon emissions during production. The microfibers that shed from the polyester can harm the environment. It can enter our water system, just our bodies, and it can affect marine life, which we've seen how plastics affect marine life. So it's all these little things that fortunately we do have the internet and people who are dedicating their lives to these things for us to then be knowledgeable. And it sucks. I get it that we have to sit there and be like, is this a sweatshop? Who's making these clothes? And is it made of polyester? And is it good things? We all want to make good choices. And I know it takes a little extra effort, but it can really help our environment and our future. Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been Katie Rose, served straight up with a twist. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and let a friend know about the show. And if you're really feeling generous, rate it 5 stars. I also love having guests on my show, so if there's a topic that you want to chat about, contact me on my Facebook page at Katie Rose, straight up with a twist, or now you can directly text me straight from the episode in the details section. Just click on the link provided. Thanks so much for joining, and tune in week to week with some more Katie Rose, straight up with a twist.